Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Good evening, everybody. It's Friday. I just want to say welcome. We're going to get into some dinar tonight. Thank you for being with us. Just want you guys to know I appreciate all of you guys that come into Patreon in our Discord chat room. It's only $11.99 a month, and the wealth of information is the key point. We have 2 to 3 years of data, actually more closely to 3, and we have decades of experience to show that what we're talking about is very compelling, and it's coming from the news, it's coming from real sources and real analysis. So stop by, get ready, and check us out. So if you guys have been watching recently, gold's been on a tear. Just a little vision of mine has been about gold and silver as real money. Colin Plume, noblegoldinvestments.com. They are same vision as mine. I found gold at $275 because I worked at a gold mine. I told people in a small little town that I lived in that when it hit 400, it was one of the safest times to buy. And look at that vision. Today it's over $4,300. It's amazing. Noble Gold Investments has that vision because they have believed, like I do, in my investments. So check it out, noblegoldinvestments.com, and enjoy. Gold's gone mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere, and prices keep climbing. Every day, more and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of it? How do you invest in a way that's safe, simple, and built for the long run? That's where Noble Gold Investments comes in. Noble Gold specialists are trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident, from wondering what's next to knowing exactly what to do. Whether you're looking to roll over an old 401k into a gold IRA, or you want physical coins and bars delivered right to your home, Noble Gold makes the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You'll get a step-by-step guidance, transparency pricing, and US-based service from a team that's handled over $2.5 billion in precious metal transactions. With Noble Gold Investments, protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it's their commitment. So visit noblegoldinvestments.com today to claim your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com. Noble Gold, helping you build a stronger future. Yeah, so good evening. So again, just have to say it is a good evening. That's why I'm happy to say that the Iraqi Dinar news that we have with patreon.com and our Discord chat room is fascinating. Super Samson has been knocking it out of the park lately, and it's hard to keep up. And I have to thank our admin, Gigi and Greg, for their due diligence and their tenacity, because they work hard as well. And all of you that have helped with donations, Jose and Charles just recently, thank you guys very much. You guys are appreciated, and kudos to you guys for liking the content that we bring. And we got more tonight. Here's an article called Prime Minister, by the Prime Minister. We have completed important service projects in Babylon. So look, they're going to rebuild Babylon, and they're going to put trillions of dinar into that investment. And take it for what it's worth. History suggests there's going to be a rebuild, so let's just watch what they have to do. Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani announced on Thursday implementation of 67 service and engineering projects in various sectors in Babel government, while indicating that whoever chooses to boycott the elections is paving the way for failures and corruption. Okay, so it's got a little bit of politics involved, but hey, this whole situation that we're watching has a component of real economics, and it also has a real component of politics. I don't care which country we're talking about. It's going to have something to do with it. But anyway, in a speech during an electoral rally that was held on Thursday in Babel Government, al-Sudani, he says, "We announced the renewal of the pledge that Iraq will remain first in services, construction, security, stability, and our international relations." So he ties in taking care of the people. He talks about rebuilding the country. He talks about security and stability and international relations, all in one sentence. He's keeping it quick. He talks about that Babylon has suffered from mismanagement and neglect in the past, but that's going to change. He says, we will continue the path of reconstruction, building, and development, and we are capable of implementing and fulfilling our promises. So he's motivated, he's got tenacity, and he's ready to complete these important services for the Babylon community. And obviously he's putting his money where his mouth is. There's different projects. One is 364 billion dinars, one's 134, and one's 67. So obviously, collectively, he's going on to say, we've allocated to Babylon for the first time in history of the government projects to be implemented on the ground worth 2,191 billion dinars. And they are outside the Babylon budget, so it's over and above. Where did he get the money? What's he doing with it? Is that coming from the investment side of the budget for 2023, 24, and 25? My view is likely so, as we haven't seen 23, 24, 25 budget schedules. Data suggests, though, that they are on track. Data suggests also that the 2026 budget probably is ready for those budget tables, because they're really knocking it home and working to integrate into the global financial system. He explains that the participation in the election is not just papers placed in the ballot box, but rather planning and ensuring the future of Iraq, Babylon, and all of Iraqis, knowing that we will resolve the housing, job opportunities, development projects, crisis, and we will move forward with the development path project that represents the dream of Iraq and Iraqis. The Reconstruction and Development Coalition will lead a true development and urban renaissance that meets the aspirations of all Iraqis, and there are disturbed voices from the success of the government and its service program. So there's people that are unhappy with this. Well, all that corruption that's been going on for 20 plus years is definitely voices of, have disturbed voices, right? It's funny, you see al-Maliki saying, I want all the money to go back to the people. I was like, well, does that mean you're going to bring back 100 billion, 500 billion to the country that you shouldn't have? I think that's probably going to come out in the future. They talk about the crime of the century in the past, right? How come we haven't seen the results of that yet? I wouldn't be surprised if we do. Basically, al-Sudani is telling it like it is. The Reconstruction Development Program is not stopping anytime soon. Not even close. You can just see that the evidence is everywhere. Having an urban renaissance, you realize an urban renaissance is going to be collectively, they're going to build cities all along the road from Fa to Turkey. You guys, I think you really should see the impact of just how big that is. Hence, you see all the largest financial institutions in the world openly being involved in Iraq. And for crying out loud, there's news on CNBC about Iraq. Really? Western media? That is huge. That's really big. Because it's very telling. And sometimes the Western media is late to the party. Because I think we've been around for 15 years. At least I have. So, little humor there, you guys. So here's an article that's interesting too. It's called The Government Advisor. Financial inclusion has increased by more than 40%, and the upcoming reforms represent a historic milestone. Okay, so you guys realize that Mohammed, I should say Saleh, Prime Minister's advisor, you know that we talk about him quite a bit, because you know what, he's really got experience, and he's very forthcoming, and he's got honesty and integrity. Because I think he too, like Sudani, they work good as a team, and not unlike al-Nusayri. I mean, there's a lot of his advisors. They're there for a reason, because he has a mission. He has a past. Al-Sudani does, and sadly, a lot of his family members are not around anymore because of the prior era of Saddam Hussein. But anyway, in a speech he delivered while representing the government at the Banking Reform Conference organized by the Central Bank of Iraq in cooperation with the international consulting firm Oliver Wyman. We've been talking about Oliver Wyman for quite a while. And we talked about it in my last video. But they have a meeting at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, as you're already probably aware of, in Washington, D.C. And on the sideline meetings are really fascinating because they're very quiet. But ultimately, sidelines of the meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. This man, Soleil, says that the government is committed to continuing to implement the economic and financial reform program aimed at enhancing the efficiency of the banking system and supporting sustainable development in the country. So he's broadcasting at this venue to the largest financial institutions in the world. The banking sector represents a fundamental pillar in the economic reform process, indicating that the government is proceeding with implementing comprehensive strategic banking reforms in cooperation with the Central Bank of Iraq, aimed at raising the standards of banking work and enhancing the competitiveness of the financial system. So we're talking about global terms. We're not just talking about regional. The government has prepared a 3-year general budget for the first time. We all know that, but he's reiterating it. This is what we've done for the first time. And what does it do? It allows for long-term financial planning, achieving stability in resource management, and enhancing the confidence of local and international investors. All of these things we've been witnessing. They got confidence locally, they got confidence regionally, and they got confidence internationally. It says the government did do that for the first time, okay? But it goes on and says that the government has achieved tangible progress in automating the customs system through the implementation of the United Nations ASCADA system, which has led to a clear increase in customs revenues in addition to a significant improvement in tax revenues. Non-oil revenues, you guys, are going to be insane because estimates are really, and have been for many, many years, that that right there, non-oil revenues, will equate to similarly to their oil production. They have 150 billion barrels of oil real close. So you got to see that, and there's other things that are coming. That's just one item. And so the taxes at the borders is going to be a big deal. He points out that the government has launched programs to expand the use of electronic payments and partnerships with financial technology companies, which has contributed to raising the rate of financial inclusion to more than 40% after it was less than 10% 2 years ago, which has been praised by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. The government's support for small and medium-sized enterprises, providing financing and resources to create new jobs and opportunities to stimulate the local economy, all inclusive. This gentleman by the name of Salman, it says the banking reforms currently underway represent a pivotal moment in Iraq's economic development history. The government expressed its appreciation to the central bank, the banks, and the international local advisory teams for working in this field. So their appreciation, think about it, what's their appreciation? So in other words, we've done all this, and we thank you for your help in getting to where we are today. The government of Iraq, yes, expressing its appreciation is to say thank you for help with accomplishing our reforms that not only support Iraq, but international institutions. The work done shows that the new systems and reforms in place are actually working as planned. This is a powerful news today brought to us by our, Super Samson. I want to give her some kudos, and you guys don't want to miss it. If you guys want to come in and see some of these intricate reports that we have basically reports that suggest Iraq integrates into the global financial system with the support of the largest financial institutions in the world. Look, those are the types of things that you're going to find at your fingertips in Patreon. Everyone's welcome to join. I wouldn't miss it for the life of me. That's why I'm here. Come on in. Everybody's welcome. It's $11.99 a month, and you guys can cancel it at any time if you like. But there you go. Don't forget, Discord chat room. And by the way, we have Q&A live stream on Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We've done a few. Very well accepted. Everybody, come on in and check it out. You're welcome to come in. And so we'll see it through. I know I'm going to be here. All right, so here's another article. The Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance, probably Taif Sami, reviews Iraq's economic situation and reform programs in Washington. Finance Minister Taif Sami discussed Iraq's economic situation, reform programs, and maximizing revenues during meetings in Washington on Thursday. The Minister of Finance, Taif Sami Mohammed, Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, and the accompanying delegation participated in the annual meetings of the World Bank Group and the International Monetary Fund held from October 13th through the 18th, 2025 in Washington, so it's going to go on until tomorrow, to discuss global economic challenges, economic development, financial stability, and other related issues in addition to plenary session seminars and side consultations. Well, okay, when he showed up. But anyway, the Minister Sami began a participation in the first meeting of the Executive Director of the World Bank, Abdulaziz Al-Mullah. The meeting discussed the economic situation in Iraq and the role of the central bank in supporting its modern programs, particularly in maximizing revenues, reducing expenditures, digitization, electronic systems, and new projects with the World Bank in infrastructure, energy, environment, water, and human capital. Every single one of those little words in there or subject matter can be broken down into specific sectors. That's how they work it. Maximizing revenues, reducing expenses. Those are important. Digitization, new technologies, new systems, which help in those two items. Electronic systems, IQD, for instance, the TIR system. New projects with the World Bank and infrastructure, building new things, development road project. You see how this goes? Energy, Total, BP, Chevron, HKN, Western Zagros, all of those companies. Environment, water, talking about Turkey. Turkey's, a key component in this. They got a relationship to the development road project. Water's a big thing. They're going to build a huge road in all these industrial cities. They're going to need water supply. And obviously Turkey knows that. And I'm assuming Turkey is going to be beneficial because they have a skin in the game too, just like other neighboring countries. Human capital, what does Iraq have? They got 60% of their population is under the age of 30 and will be till 2050. That's how young it is. And so when they talk about saturation levels of bank cards, electronic cards, and all that stuff, when they get to 40%, they tell you that, that's really a big deal. It's really big. So it's a lot of people because some of them don't need electronic cards because they're so young. All right. He continues as this gal, Ricardo, Vice President of the Private Sector Affairs, and discussed the topics of International Finance Corporation, IFC projects in Iraq. IFC, all right? International Financial Corporation, arm of the World Bank. Didn't Al-Alaq go to England, try to get the nod for the Bank of International Settlements recently? 100% did. It goes on and says, the delegation headed by Ricardo held by a high-level meeting with the World Bank's Vice President of the Middle East, Othman Douani, and discussed the portfolio of projects funded by the World Bank, especially the railway project. So the Port of Fa railway into Turkey. There's going to be two components, railway for people and a railway for goods. A lot of them. Her Excellency also attended the meeting of the Arab governors of the World Bank, which was held under the chairmanship of Ajay Banga, President of the World Bank. So she's at the top. Very well. He points out that in this particular case, this gentleman says, the Minister and Deputy Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq attended the ministerial meeting chaired by the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund. That's about monetary stuff. The other stuff, World Bank, is about infrastructure. Two different components. Kristalina Georgieva, in the presence of the Ministers of Finance and Governors of the countries in the International Monetary Fund. So the people are talking to the top in Washington, D.C. I don't think there's any coincidences this is taking place. It's because of what they've done, like they've said. They've been doing what they've been told. They've been doing what was planned. They've been doing it by the book. It's fascinating information. They say that they focus on exchanging visions and experiences regarding economic reforms, enhancing the performance of government institutions, supporting and strengthening the private sector, and opening the way for them to be at the forefront of sustaining the economic resilience of the countries of the region. So they're going to be somewhat of a backbone of the region. Iraq will be, once again. Much more here to go through, but the bottom line is, I'm not going to read it all, is that Iraq is going to be a pillar. It's going to be a foundation stone in the Middle East. And you can tell, even notice how the Middle East has cooled down significantly. Iran's been quiet. We haven't had missiles flying in Iraq anymore. You have the neighboring countries, big peace deal going on, all of that, and that is calm. It's really good. It gives confidence to international investors that the Middle East is placed. Now you're seeing articles that Iraq is a beacon. It's the new show. It's a new showpiece. Hence, CNBC picks it up. Okay. The statement indicated that during the meetings of Finance Minister Taif Sami, now she's the legal arm. If you don't know that, she's the legal arm of the government for finance. She works in tandem with, independently, but in conjunction with the central bank. And who is she with? She's been with the deputy deputy governor of the central bank. And what they just talked about recently, we talked about not floating the dinar, and they talked about a plan to remove zeros. Play on words. Very powerful information. The minister also met with the Director of Technical and Financial Affairs and her technical team at the International Monetary Fund, responsible for providing technical support and expertise in the Ministry of Finance. They discussed the steps to provide technical support to the General Tax Authority and General Customs Authority. So there you go. It's invoking the IQD system. Regarding the electronic automation of their systems and reviewed the amendments of their laws. So they're getting down to the nitty-gritty. She expressed her readiness to provide technical support and training on these systems for customs and tax employees. So the IMF is willing to jump in and help them. In addition to discussing the completion of the requirements of the Unified Treasury Account. It's how everybody's going to get paid. That's how the citizens are going to get their constitutional rights. This is the first time they've invoked that. This 3 words, Unified Treasury Account. First time I've seen it in months. Okay, and reviewing the procedures implemented by the Ministry of Finance regarding this program. It talks about Social Security, etc. But it goes in and it says that the delegation met with Jihad Azur, director of the funds, so the IMF funds, Middle East and Asia Department. So now they have a connection to the Middle East and Asia, where they discussed a range of economic issues and key financial policy forecasts, where the regional representative emphasized the fund's commitment to supporting all financial, banking, and monetary reform programs adopted by the Iraqi government. So they're there to support all financial, banking, and monetary reform programs adopted by the Iraqi government. So you have the Middle East and you have Asia on board with all of Iraq's programs. Yeah, that just threw me for just now because I didn't catch that earlier today. It's like, that's pretty heavy, man. That's really pretty heavy. These annual meetings bring together central bank governors, ministers of finance, and and development, private sector executives, representatives of the civil society organizations, and academics discuss issues of global importance, including the global economic outlook, so above and beyond just Iraq, poverty eradication, economic development, and aid effectiveness. So they're talking about the region. And of course, there's neighbors that need some help. Reconstruction, neighboring countries, Syria, etc. The event features workshops, regional briefings, press conferences, etc. But what a powerhouse meeting it turns out to be. And it's going to go on until tomorrow. But the largest hitters in the game are involved. Taif Sami, the deputy governor of the central bank, with a delegation with the IMF, World Bank, and IFC at an annual meeting that lasts through tomorrow to discuss global economic challenges, development, stability, and related issues. I think is just phenomenal. The World Bank's role has been to support Iraq's reform efforts, especially in maximizing revenues and reducing expenses. There's a push to boost Iraq's credit rating for for all intents and purposes. Why? Because they could be able to borrow money cheaper so they can do the things that they do. It's big. It's big. The IMF is focused on financial, banking, and monetary reforms. Okay. Taif Sami, Iraq, quote, Taif Sami, she says, Iraq is witnessing actual implementation of comprehensive economic reforms that shows that the finance minister is adhering to timeframes, just like al-Sudani, and has accomplished actual reforms. I love this. What is taking place is there are reassurances being broadcasted for all to see that Iraq is on the right path of implementing key reforms, and Iraq is getting praise for what has been done already. Praised by who? The World Bank and the IMF. Everyone in the room knows that Iraq has reserves of over 100 billion. They have gold. I think it's 24 trillion dinars. Non-oil revenues. Talked about IQD system, TIR system, and other new systems. This is all setting up for the IMF 500 million in loans they talked about. They talk about the 400 billion in reconstruction investment money with a stronger dinar can be upwards of 75% cheaper. I think that's going to be light, to be honest with you, but that's just what they're saying. Okay, so anyway, what's taking place is in our favor. That's how I see it. It's in anybody that knows what they own and invested in the Iraqi dinar should feel confident that we don't know the time, date, and we don't know the specific rate, which is a good thing because it shouldn't be that way. But the bottom line is that all of this news supports the fact that, like I've talked about in the past, I found gold. Iraq's talking about gold, you guys. Iraq has been talking about it since, well, if you just go back to in our room into Patreon or you go into Discord and just type in the word gold in the search bar, you're going to find, especially in Discord, because it's a little bit easier, to be honest with you. You type in gold and just go back to October 8th and see how many times you find the words gold relating to articles about Iraq. I don't know if you guys realize this, but central banks have been buying gold to the tune of about 1,000 tons in 2024, okay? And they're forecasting to buy 43% more by the end of the year or real close into 2026. 43%. They haven't done 1,000 tons on a global basis for a decade. Why? They're doing it for a purpose. What do I think it's for? I think it's to back and facilitate them to have the ability to back their central bank digital currencies, and that's where I believe. We're going to find out if that's true. But they keep talking about new technologies. They're talking about transparency. They're talking about low costs. You see things out of the MENA for Middle East, North Africa. You see how they're talking about remittances being a problem. Remittances are expensive. The old system is expensive. The newer system is going to be far less expensive, far cheaper, and it's going to reach a far more amount of people and in seconds. So keep that in mind. Last thing I'm going to get to is I didn't know this. This is fascinating. I hope you guys stick around for the last of it. But KBR supporting digital transformation in Iraq. I was like, well, what's this? I don't know. So I looked to find out. Anyway, the Ministry of Trade has held a joint meeting between the Department of Foreign Economic Relations and the economic team from the U.S.-based KBR to discuss areas of cooperation supporting Iraq's trade policies and digital transformation efforts. All right. According to a ministry statement, Director General of the Department, Riyad Hashimi, highlighted the importance of strengthening technical collaboration in digital transformation, updating legislative and regulatory systems to improve the business environment, and enhancing Iraq's integration into the global economy. Where have you heard that before, right? Okay. In line with international standards, of course. The KBR team is working under a cooperation agreement with the Ministry of Planning aimed at supporting and evaluating Iraq's economic landscape as part of joint efforts to enhance institutional performance and advance economic reforms. Both sides agreed to continue coordination dialogue to expand cooperation in trade, investment, economic development to boost national competitiveness, and achieve sustainable growth. Okay, so at first glance, this may seem unimportant. Did I say that right? Unimportant. Sorry, you guys. But take a peek at what the company has been doing for almost 25 years. It's noted below, this is a US-based global engineering, procurement, and construction firm that specializes in technical and economic consulting, infrastructure and development, and digital transformation services. Exactly what we're witnessing now. This has been a very hush-hush company as far as I'm concerned. And it's like coming out of the closet. Who? What? Where? Where'd you come from? Okay, so this should basically make you guys all smile because what do I find? KBR, which is formerly known as Kellogg Brown and Root, is a U.S.-based global engineering, procurement, and construction company specialized in technical and economic consulting, infrastructure development, and digital transformation services. So check this out. They have over 100 years of history in business. KBR has worked on major projects in energy, defense, and government sectors worldwide, including the Middle East. In Iraq, KBR has been active since the early 2000s, supporting oil and gas and reconstruction efforts, EPC contracts for Basra refineries, and power plants worth billions. It's interesting. I'm trying to figure out, I'm still thinking about this because I found that to be fascinating. The company's been around for 100 years, but they've been involved in Iraq since the 2000s. Well, most people didn't get invested in Iraq since 2003 or 2004 from the very, very beginning. So it's been over 20 years for a lot of people. Members of our community here at Patreon. Shout out to Petra. He calls me on today and says, we need to catch up. I've been busy. So we have to, keep that in mind. A lot of us have lives. A lot of us have to do things. That's why we can't always be around. And then like myself, I have 2 jobs. Many of us have more than 1 job. But we keep at it because why? Because we have vision. We like what we do and we believe in it. Here it is, KBR's fit into Iraq's financial integration. KBR is collaborating with Iraq's Ministry of Planning to support digital transformation and economic reforms, evaluating the economic landscape, enhancing institutional performance, and advancing systems for global integration. Key point, their global integration. This includes technical cooperation with the Ministry of Trade's Foreign Economic Relations Department on trade policies. That reeks of WTO. Updating regulations to improve the business environment and aligning with international standards for sustainable growth. So, digital transformation. KBR's role in building digital infrastructure, systems for trade and investment, supports e-payments we talked about. It talks about e-signatures and the law, 78/2012, enabling faster compliant transactions for non-oil growth, which is at, 11% in 2024. It's just going to keep growing. Financial integration angle of what this is about. By modernizing regulations and institutional performance, KBR helps with the Bank of International Settlements, the WTO standards. It's effective at boosting foreign direct investment, estimated at $10 billion, and a real effective exchange rate readiness. It's loose and tidy. In other words, what we've been seeing with al-Sudani, the deputy governor, Taif Sami, et cetera, Oliver Wyman, is that they're all in Washington tidying up the loose ends. That's the way I see it anyway. And also, al-Sudani mentioned a new phase back on September 15th. We're going to go into a new phase. Okay, a quote from Director General Riyad al-Hashimi. So we mentioned him earlier. Strengthening technical collaboration and digital transformation, updating legislative and regulatory systems to improve the business environment, and enhancing Iraq's integration into the global economy in line with international standards. Overall, KBR's involvement signals commitment, Iraq's commitment to global systems, of course, complementing memorandums of understandings. Of course, what is that? Part of it is 400 to 500 million a month going out of Turkey through the Cyan pipeline, which is only going to grow because that's at present state of pumping oil. And the CBI stability, why is that? CBI stability because they have 0.8% inflation. They have over 100 billion in reserves, and it's got 162.7 tons of gold. And they haven't even told you what they've had in 10 months, which is atypical for Iraq. So they said in January, 162.7. They vary from 165 to 170, so make it a wash. Bottom line is they normally are late anyway. They're always tardy. So most people publish to the IMF, then the IMF gives that to the World Gold Council. But you haven't seen anything for 10 months. So is there something that we don't know about even more reserves that Iraq has? I mentioned this before. Iraq has bought a lot of gold, and maybe has bought since January, but ultimately central banks are buying gold, and they said they bought 1,000 tons of gold. And they've done that in 2024. And now we're coming into 2025, and they're talking about that they may have accumulated upwards of 43%, or might even get 43% more than what they've already got. I'm assuming it's from that point on 43% more, hence the gold price is at $4,300. When central banks buy gold, they do it for a reason. That's what they do. So anyway, that's what I have for you guys tonight. I think it's powerful. I think it's pretty fascinating. You can see my energy is probably pumped, but thank you very much for helping out. And I want you to say, go gold, go dinar, because that's where the vision is. And also, if you like my content, hit subscribe, and much appreciated once again for all those that use PayPal to help keep Militia Man and Crew running. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.